Every time you turn that TV on, there's somebody gets shot.
A deadly day in Central Texas. A man now in custody in connection to multiple crime scenes. Police say he started in Bexar County. Our sources say he killed the people who raised him.
Well, why you want to kill your parents? You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for your parents.
Moving up to Austin and, according to police, taking 4 more innocent lives and injuring 2 officers and a cyclist.
This occurred, and then the suspect drove to Austin and did what he did there.
I thought I heard something like fireworks or something. Pop, pop, pop.
A total of 6 dead, 3 hurt, and many more questions unanswered.
Thanks for being with us tonight. A day of terror across Central Texas. We start with the shooting spree that killed 6 people across Central Texas yesterday.
New this hour, a top law enforcement source tells us while the investigation is still ongoing, the suspect randomly attacked the Austin victims. If you're now just joining us, let's get you up to speed.
Okay, here's what we know so far about the suspect. We now have the booking photo of 34-year-old Shane James Jr. He is a former Army officer now charged with capital murder. He was booked into the Travis County Jail last night. We're going to get more into his background in a moment, but first, let's walk you through a timeline of what happened yesterday from Austin to San Antonio. Yesterday morning, around 10:40, an Austin AISD officer was shot near Northeast Early College High School in East Austin. That's off Highway 290.
And we've just learned the officer hurt is Sergeant Val Barnes. AISD says he served the district for 29 years and is currently a supervisor supporting school resource officers. Yesterday, Sergeant Barnes called out to report that he was taking gunfire from someone and had been hit in the leg. The district says that Sergeant Barnes has been released from the hospital. Now, we're told 15 agencies responded to his call for help, and the school was put on lockdown. Students were later taken to Delco Activity Center to be reunited with their families, and classes were canceled today.
We do have 2 confirmed patients on this. We're searching there to make sure we don't have any more.
Now, after the shooting at the school, authorities responded to a double homicide on Shadywood Drive in South Austin between South First and South Congress. This was just before noon.
And at this scene, we know a man and a woman were both shot and killed outside of a South Austin home. And now you can see flowers and candles have been placed outside as a memorial for the shooting victims. Neighbors say they are shocked by what happened. One neighbor we spoke with says the man was shot first and that he was a handyman who had been working on the home. And they tell us that woman had just moved into the home being worked on and that she ran outside to try to help the man.
I came home yesterday and I couldn't get into my home because of all the police cars and the medical examiner and all that stuff. You know, I completely understand.
Our team, who has been at the scene most of the day, says they've also seen many people going in and out of that Shadywood Drive home, occasionally sitting outside by that memorial. Now, let's get back to the timeline. A few hours later, that's just before 5 o'clock yesterday, a cyclist was shot on West Slaughter Lane, also happening in South Austin.
And we've learned the cyclist ran into a store called ATX Bikes, saying that he had been fired upon, but at the time he didn't know he was actually shot. That's according to the owner of the shop. Frank Pryor said dozens of cyclists had gathered in front of his store ahead of a weekly group ride when they heard the gunshots, and that's when the victim came in needing help.
The version that we heard is he's spinning on the trail, and in what he described as an ambush, this person stepped out, pointed the weapon at him and fired and continued to do so. He thinks it was more than 3, about 5 shots.
Now, Pryor told us the cyclist returned to the store this morning to collect his bike, which he left after the ambulance took him to the hospital. Pryor says the cyclist is doing fine, but is, as you would imagine, still processing what happened to him.
Looks like we have multiple victims at the 5376 Austria Loop.
Now we're talking about 6:48 yesterday evening. Austin 911 received a call about a burglary in progress in the 5300 block of Austral Loop. So that's near Mopac Expressway and La Crosse Avenue. That is also where an Austin police officer was shot. We are hearing that officer is now at home and is expected to be okay.
That's according to the Austin Police Association. Police say 2 more people were found dead in a home off of Austral Loop. Our Jayla Washington has been there all morning talking with neighbors. Jayla.
Hey, Daniel, Britt. Yeah, obviously just neighbors shocked tonight, and that crime scene tape just removed hours ago, giving us a first look at the home where that happened, according to police audio. It is that brown home there behind me. Now, as neighbors just replay what happened, hearing those helicopters as well as just the gunshots, there is one haunting question that they keep asking themselves. Could this have been them or their family?
Looks like we have multiple victims at the 5376 Austria Loop.
At some point in the mix of dispatchers communicating with each other,
He has shots fired on a very hot shot.
Jen Brady says she was on the other side of the call talking to a 911 operator.
My kids were out back playing kickball, and I heard the helicopters. And they told me that they heard a firework, and then I kind of put it together with that, thinking it was a gunshot.
She didn't know it then, but she says she thinks her son was in direct contact with this guy here, Shane James, accidentally hitting him with a kickball over the fence of their backyard.
So I called 911. When I was on the phone with them, the shots were fired out front of the house. I was screaming and freaking out to the 911 dispatcher, and I asked him, should I put my kids in the bathroom? Like, what should I do?
Those shots would turn out to be just 2 homes down from Brady's family, where a husband and wife lived, according to neighbors.
The cops came in. I saw them get down and start, loading weapons, and that's when I told my son to go back inside.
We're going to send EMS 100 and Medic 2 to the Austria Loop location, the residence.
Austin police tell us an officer confronted James in a backyard along the Greenbelt, and James opened fire and shot him. That officer went to the hospital, and the Austin Police Union confirms he has since been released.
So the squealing of tires and then the high-speed chase that ensued.
Multiple neighbors, witnesses to everything, say they were never told to stay inside.
My kids wouldn't have been outside, that's for damn sure. I am more upset about the tragedy, and then right behind it is, why weren't we informed?
Now, we did ask APD about what happened and why neighbors are saying they were left in the dark, and we're still waiting to hear back. Neighbors tell us they know exactly the people who were killed, but we're not reporting that information as of right now until we have that official confirmation from police. But again, according to neighbors, they are telling us that a wife and husband lived there in the home. Now, after the shooting in the backyard, officers, they chased the suspect to SH-45 and FM-18, where after a crash, they were then able to finally, after the entire day, hours, were able to take him into custody. Britt.